Good day all. I am Dr.T.Arunmozhi, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Commerce, KCS Kasinadar College of Arts and Science. I welcome you all for the presentation on solvency ratio. In that, we would see about debt equity ratio from the chapter ratio analysis and from the subject management accounting. It is based on the curriculum of all universities on this subject. The contents are solvency ratio, in that debt equity ratio and its objective and significance. Meaning of solvency implies ability of an enterprise to meet its long-term indebtedness, and thus solvency ratios convey an enterprise's ability to meet its long-term obligations. Solvency refers to the ability of the company to repay its outside liabilities. The outside liabilities are normally categorized into two: short-term liabilities and long-term liabilities. The ratios relating to short-term solvency, that is, company's ability to pay off short-term liabilities, have already been discussed. Here refers to these ratios which deals with company's ability to meet long-term liabilities. Long-term creditors include debenture holders, vendors selling equipments on hire purchase basis, and other financiers supplying long-term loans. The long-term creditors are primarily interested in ascertaining whether the company is sufficiently strong enough to meet long-term liabilities or debts, and whether the company is having adequate profits to pay its interest obligations regularly. They would very much be like to study the financial structure, the contribution of long-term lenders, that is the owners, to the total capital employed. In that, one such is the debt equity ratio. Another word for debt equity ratio is external internal equity ratio. It is mainly calculated to assess the soundness of long-term financial policies and to determine the relative stakes of outsiders and owners. It determines the relationship between debt and equity, that is the shareholders' funds. It can be computed by using any one of the formula, that is the total long-term debt divided by the shareholders' funds. It is worked out to ascertain soundness of the long-term financial policies of the firm. As I have told you, debt, which means the long-term loans, and equity is the shareholders' funds. It is the proportion between shareholders' funds and the long-term borrowed funds. A higher ratio indicates a risky financial position, while a lower ratio indicates safer financial position. Its objectives and significance is that the ratio is sufficient to assess the soundness of the long-term financial position. It also indicates the extent to which the firm depends upon outsiders for its existence. For example, the formula, as we say, it is debt divided by the equity. Debt, here we have the debentures as 1,50,000. Then equity, when we say it is equity share capital, general reserve and preliminary expenses, that constitutes to 3,50,000. And here, so the formula goes as debt divided by equity, or total long-term debt divided by shareholders' funds, 1,50,000 divided by 3,50,000. In the ratio form, it is 15:35, or it is 3:7. A high debt equity ratio shows the higher claims of creditors over assets of the company than those of the shareholders. A very high ratio indicates an unfavorable position as the company feels difficulty in raising funds to thin equity. Heavy indebtedness may result in undue pressure from creditors and clouds independent business judgment and saps the management energies. To balance the conflicting interests, generally the ratio of 2:1 is considered satisfactory. Hope we would meet in hope you would understood this concept of debt equity ratio. We would meet in the next ratio. Thank you.